YouTube. Is this thing on? We already know it's on. So without wasting any time, let's get into that one thing that I was able to source from the Philippines that, it just seems to drive people the craziest out of everything, mostly everything I've had put on this car. Okay, now just to show you a quick little hint, we'll be working on the inside instead of the outside. Let's get it done. Okay, so in case you weren't able to figure it out yet, today we're going to be doing a review on the wood grain interior trim pieces that I've had added from the Philippines and also from Canada. Now, hands down, without any question, I would say the hardest part to source out was this piece that goes around the gear shift. Partly because, as you can see, it has that Honda Multimatic performance button where you can put it in economy or sport. And to find the car that had that piece with the button definitely was a piece of work. Now, aside from that, you have the vent over here in wood grain now. You have this piece in front of the steering wheel in wood grain now. And then you also have the vent over here on the passenger side. That glare might be stopping you from seeing it, but that's in wood grain now as well. Now, these three pieces across the top, they all came from a friend of mine in the Philippines. Now, here's the difference. You might see other Civics that have wood grain paneling as well. Trim pieces, paneling, whatever you want to call it. Now, you can use the Acura EL from Canada to grab wood grain pieces from that, and they will fit, like they're supposed to in your EK Civic. Other than that, you would have to find a Damani. Now, the difference is the Damani as well as the EL from Canada, they have the wood grain trim pieces, but the only difference is, so if you remember back in the day, if you wanted to have wood grain, or say you wanted to have carbon fiber or something like that, you could buy like a kit, and it would have like the trim cut out of your vents and stuff. And you would have to clean your vent with like alcohol or soap and water or something like that. And then they would kind of like it was like an overlay, and it would just stick on top of what you already had. Okay. Now, these particular pieces aren't like that. Now, I have my other pieces on the floor on the passenger side because I'm going to show you the difference in a few minutes. And what I mean by instead of these, being like the stick-on pieces, these pieces are actually, pretty much wood grain, okay? These aren't the kind that just stick over top of what you already have. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that look. That look is perfectly fine if that's what you like. But me personally, for my build, I just would rather have the actual wood grain pieces versus the stuff that just sticks on over top, okay? But either way you go, it's fine. It's no big deal. Both look good, okay? Give me a second. Let me get on the other side where I can show you the difference. 1 second. Okay, now, here we are. I'm sitting on the passenger side of the car. Now, what I was telling you before was, like I said, back in the day, you could get those kits that would have like the overlay that you would have to install over top of, the vents you already had. So basically, like this was the vent that was over here on the passenger side. I already removed the wood grain vent. Now, let me help you out a little bit. If you suffer from OCD or anything like that and you just want to keep your pieces fresh, do me a favor. When you're removing these, interior pieces and trim pieces and stuff like that, go ahead and invest in the actual interior trim, the wedge kit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'll put a picture of it right here in the video, okay? Don't rush and try to use like a flathead or something like that, because I promise you, with these little interior pieces, you're going to scar up the edges and scratch the edges and stuff like that. And like I said, if you suffer from OCD like myself, that's going to drive you crazy. Okay, so like I was saying, back in the day, you would just take, that kit and stick it on right over top of, the vent that you already have. And that's the way the Damani and the EL look. Now, the difference in that versus what I have is, as you can see, this isn't stuck on over top. It's actual wood grain, trim. It's not stuck on anything. There's no glue. There's no sticky stuff to stick on over top of it or nothing. It's actual wood grain, and it is OEM because right here you can see the Honda stamp on it, okay? So, it's not none of that like trim kit stuff or nothing like that you can buy. It's actually OEM, and that goes for this. It goes for the piece in front of, the steering wheel, as well as the vent that's over here on the driver's side. Now, I will be honest because, I give you guys pros and cons of everything, okay? There's one thing I found wrong, with this kit as far as something that I don't like, okay? Before I get into it, let me go ahead and put this back in so that we don't have any problems. There we go. And just like that, it's back in. So the one thing I found that I did not like about the kit is it has it has something to do with this vent over here, okay? Now, this is the regular, EK Civic vent that we get over here in the States, okay? Now, if you have the EK9, which is the one that most people like, over here on the driver's side, you would have this vent right here. Now, what was special about this vent is, as you can see, it has the little pocket, right here. Now, that was perfect for like putting stuff, little things, not nothing big, of course, but, you could like put little things inside this little pocket. And it might seem like something small to you, but I actually used to enjoy, like I said, just sticking little things in there, to have if I needed it, like coins or, anything like that, Whereas when I changed it out and I went with the wood grain, I lost that little pocket, okay? And now I'm back to the regular way it comes, without the EK9 pocket vent, that I grew to enjoy and love, okay? So that's really the only downside to this wood grain kit, okay? Other than that, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? I get a lot of compliments on it. Like I said, people tend to compliment this kit more than anything else on the car. Every time I show the car, the first thing they want to know is, how'd you get wood grain in the car? How'd you get wood grain in the car? That's the number one asked question. And then I have to explain to them, this piece, and that piece all came from the Philippines, whereas this piece here came from the vehicle in Canada, okay? It's hot in here. Let me step outside the car, put these vents and stuff back down here, and we'll go ahead and close out this video, okay? Be right back. Okay, so that's going to wrap up the video this week, and next week, as you know, I'm going to give you something in a review of some particular part or some particular detail that this car has going on that I added to make it stand out from the rest, okay? And we're just going to keep this series going because it seems like it does well. You guys really want to know different things about the car. So I'm going to keep providing you with that, okay? So until next week, like we always close out and say, keep it simple, keep it humble, keep it you. I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.